delicate balance of mentoring someone is not creating them in your own image, but giving them opportunity to create themselves. Welcome to Bootstrap, Insights for the Self-Funded Entrepreneur with Frank Cianciulli. My name is Matthew Lay, and as always, I will be your host. As we suggested off the top with that quote, the topic of today is why mentorship matters. Pretty good quote, eh?
It is. I think you hit right on the head there. I mean, I'm more of a Martin Scorsese guy, but I think Spielberg got that one.
Spielberg got it right. Yeah. So Frank, why in an unfunded startup or an unfunded organization is mentorship so important?
Well, I mean, you're just getting started.
Yeah.
You know, they say it's lonely at the top. It's also lonely at the bottom.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you're about to go on this adventure, you know, you're going to hit some landmines.
Yeah.
So it's critical to have someone, whoever that may be, it could be someone that you've worked with in the past, or a manager, or maybe just a relative that owns a business, that they've been through that minefield already. So they can help guide you through it, let you know what you're about to expect, and kind of hold your hand through it, because there's going to be some ups and downs, obviously.
Yeah.
And it's always good to have someone by your side to help pick you up off the ground.
Yeah. So I imagine you had a mentor of some sort that you were able to go to in those early days?
Yeah, I did. I was fortunate. In my case, I partnered with a gentleman by the name of Tony Lacavera, kind of a superstar entrepreneur, launched a company called Global Life Communications, who we had partnered with. And, you know, he was always kind of 3 years ahead of me, kind of got through that startup phase. And so having the ability to bounce ideas off him, meet with him on a weekly basis for a coffee, and you know, really just voice any challenges that I had and help pick his brain was very useful.
So, I mean, not everyone's going to be that lucky. I know there's peer groups out there for CEOs or presidents or founders. Where do you think is the best place to find that mentor for yourself? Yeah,
I mean, there are a lot of great groups, peer-to-peer, where you get that kind of mentorship, things like the Entrepreneurs Organization. But, you know, when you're getting started, sometimes you don't have the budget for that.
Right.
There are some
costs. They cost money.
Some of those do cost money, for sure. And some people think, oh, gosh, you know, I'd love to get a Richard Branson or maybe an all-star entrepreneur. And you think, oh, there's no way I could you know, get that person. Yeah. Well, you can. You know, oftentimes, and when we talk about it, but you could, you know, approach some of those people, explain what you're doing, explain what you're looking for. You might not get a lot of time, but you might be able to email them or a quick phone call. Right. And they don't, you know, you just don't want any money for that. Yeah. They just want to be able to pass the baton, kind of help. You'd be surprised how often they want to help. So as far as the network, it doesn't have to be an all-star entrepreneur. It could even be a relative. It could be, you know, someone who's either run a business or is even in management, an uncle, a father, you know, a friend.
Yeah. And on that note, I mean, you've embedded mentorship within the Wish group of companies, but that's kind of unique because, I mean, you know, I went down my journey at the streaming network some 5 or 6 years after you started yours or whatever it might be. And so you had a financial benefit to mentoring me.
Sure.
But it needs to be embedded in the entirety of the organization, right? From the top all the way down through.
It does, and I think that's one of the uniqueness of the Wish Group, is that beyond that there's different businesses, even within the same business line, you've got people that have either been in the company longer or been in the industry longer that are always looking to pass on their experiences, their skills, their successes, what's helped them. And especially when you get someone who's earlier in their career, they'll take one of those people under their wing and help bring them up. And that's how you advance the organization. And in time, those people that were mentored will do the same and mentor some of the newer people coming in.
So how do you do that? It's important. We've established that. I've seen it happen. But how do you ensure it happens all the way down the line?
Well, I mean, it's really hard to mandate it, because I think, you know, if you force someone to be a mentor, they're probably not going to do a great job of it. So we do look for it, even in the recruitment process, people that are willing to share and help and understand the concept of that the tide raises all ships. And it's just the right thing to do. I mean, you see that in championship sports teams where, you know, the veteran who's maybe on the way out of their career that works closely, or, you know, you'll hear of teams having a veteran be a roommate with a rookie, just so they can observe, not only ask questions, but observe how they handle themselves, how they handle the media, how they handle their personal affairs. So it's the same thing in a company and a business.
Yeah. Well, going back to last week on, you know, people and hiring practices, you know, certain type of person that's going to do that, right? And you can probably identify that early on when you're bringing someone on board.
I flat out mention it in the interview.
Right.
You know, I say this is a culture based on mentorship and teamwork, true teamwork, and often that means sharing your knowledge. You know, so often some people in organizations kind of like to hold on to the knowledge, and it's natural for people to be competitive and want to outperform others.
Right.
But at the same time, you know, I help them realize that by them mentoring or coaching or helping others become successful, that success ultimately results in growth and profit that person and everyone benefits from.
Yeah. And you know what, being there again, and I have the luxury in this seat, in this job today as host of being through it, but you almost see a bit of a shaming go on in the organization sometimes when people don't want to help or don't want to be there.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I guess, a byproduct of a winning culture and a culture of growth is that, you know, if someone does want to be a maverick and kind of is perceived to be selfish, you know, it's a bit frowned upon. And it's not really the kind of team that we want to establish. So there's sometimes a bit of pressure for someone who isn't giving back, you know, to realize they're sticking out. And usually they come around, and especially once they find someone that they can relate to, that maybe, you know, approaches them with some questions, and then they realize, hey, this is kind of a cool process, because what ends up happening is even the mentor ends up learning or reminds themselves of some best practices that they can apply in their business. So it's a two-way street. It's not just the person that's seeking mentorship that gets value. It's even the mentor that ends up getting a lot of value.
Makes a lot of sense. That's all the time we got. So thank you, Frank. And if we didn't touch on something that you wanted to learn about or learn more about as it relates to mentoring or being a mentee or whatever it might be, submit it at the email you see on your screen or on this website. Next week, a very interesting topic, why you need to stop apologizing for yourself. So until that time, guys, let's share it. Let other people know who you think might find benefit in this video series, and keep it lean.